Okay, I think we're good. Alrighty, daddy. Hey, this is Dan here at Studio Blue. This is Pilates All Levels. Only thing that you might need is a mini ball. If you don't have one, no worries. You can use a pillow or nothing at all. If you have any injuries, please don't push through any kind of bad pain. We're going to start on our back today. Have your prop, if you have one, close by. A yoga block would work too. A big, pillow, anything like that would work. So come on down and start with that ball just off to the side. Knees are going to be fairly wide and feet are going to be a little bit turned out. So think shoulder distance or maybe even a little wider. And as you exhale, curl your tailbone and allow your lower back to imprint gently. And try to really relax the glutes. And then as you inhale, let the pelvis open to neutral, so there's a little bit of space underneath your lower spine without the ribs overly popping. And just two more like that. Exhale to curl. Right, notice that there's going to be a little bit of movement in the head and the neck as well. And then inhale to open towards neutral. And then the next time that you curl, just slowly start to articulate up into a bridge. So it's a wide-legged turned out bridge. And this version is nice if your thighs or your hips tend to be on the tighter side. This is a nice way to start to open them up without putting a lot of pressure on the back. Now pause at the top, so shoulders, hips, knees, everything's in one long line. And as you exhale, start to roll it down. And as you roll down, really think of widening through your spine. Allow your pelvis to open to neutral. And then again, curl the tailbone, roll up slowly so you feel the tailbone lift, lower back, middle back. And at the top, just make sure that the ribs are still pretty heavy, right? They're not popped. We're not overly arcing the middle back. A little bit of weight through the arms to help open the collarbones. And then again, just bring it down slowly. Just take about two more like this at your own time and your own pace. Lovely. Good. And last one. Now, the next time that you come all the way down, we're going to stay at the bottom. The feet are going to stay wide and a little bit turned out. So once the pelvis is open to neutral, just let the knees fall to the right and the feet essentially just stay in the same place. So one leg is getting a little bit of a turnout or external rotation. The other leg is getting a little bit of internal rotation. And I want you to think of using your stomach to bring the ribs, the pelvis, and the knees back to center, and then let the knees fall to the other side. So again, one leg is getting a bit of a turn out, the other is getting a little bit of a turn in. And exhale to come back. Just one more each side. And if it feels better to have your feet more parallel, that is A-okay. Last one to the left. And then bring everything to center. Good, you're gonna grab your prop, right? We're gonna lift the hips and place the prop underneath the lower back and the pelvis. So kind of right in between the tailbone and the lower back. So again, if you had a pillow, this would work. A block could work, but just be mindful that it's not in your SI joints. And then again, this can be done without the prop as well. So I want you to think of imprinting the lower spine, bring one leg at a time up tabletop. And just make sure your knees are about 90 degrees over the hips. And you feel the waistline drawing in. On an exhale breath, tap the right heel towards the floor. So if you're using a prop, it's nice because you can go a little bit deeper. And then as you inhale, use the tummy to come back up. And then exhaling to switch. And then use the stomach to bring yourself back up. And I want you to think on that lift up. If you think of the pelvis pushing lightly down into your prop, before you lift, you should feel a little bit more of your deep core turn on. Now, if you want to make this more challenging, maybe bend the arms, or maybe bring the arms to the sky. Right? And the weight should be across the back of the shoulders and shoulder blades. Shouldn't really be too much on the neck. But just notice if you lifted your arms, right, things should get a little shakier. And it's going to require a little bit more work at the base of the ribs. So your obliques have to fire a little bit more. Yeah. One more to the left. Good. And then hug the knees into the chest. Take a full breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Nice. And again, float the legs up to tabletop. So arms can be by your side, or right away you might lift your arms to the sky. And as you exhale, reach your arms overhead. Pause. So without your hands touching the floor, just hold there. Front of the ribs are still drawing down, tummy's still in. And then again, exhale, tap the right heel towards the floor. You might not go quite as far. And then as you inhale, lift back up. So keep going with this. Exhaling to tap. Inhaling up, right? And just notice, right? If the arms have gone overhead, it requires a lot more abdominal, a lot more obliques to keep the rib cage closing in front, right? Does everyone feel that? It's a little bit wiggly, a little bit more wiggly. Right, now if it gets too wiggly, just bring those arms back to the sky or let them relax by your side, right? All good. And just keep thinking before you lift back up, feel the back of the pelvis press down a little bit. Yeah, and same thing if you weren't using a prop, right? It's the same cue. Just take about one more on each side. Eventually ending to the left. And then hug the knees into the body. Take a full breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then settle the feet down one at a time. So the left leg is going to go all the way down to the ground. Feel some weight in the back of the heel, and then you can carefully grab the back of your right thigh and pull it in towards you. Now, you can do this with one arm if you feel like this is a little shaky and you want some support, or you can use both hands. But what you want to start to feel is that the front of your left hip is getting a little bit of a stretch. And things that can help find more stretch, if you rotate your left thigh in and gently push the heel down to the ground. And again, this can be done without any prop behind you. And send that right leg to the ground. Hug the left leg in towards you. Yeah. Nice. So again, feel like your right thigh is rotating in slightly. The heel is reaching down into the ground and away from you. And the whole time, the tail is curling under slightly, and we're gently pressing the pelvis down towards the prop or the floor. Just breathing into the back of the ribs. Good. And then set the legs down, knees bent, feet flat. We'll lift the hips and take that prop away. So feet can be on the ground if you want a little more support today, or right away, legs float up tabletop, the lower spinal imprint. Hands will come together behind the head, elbows in your peripheral vision. And as we exhale, we'll nod the chin, curl the head and the chest up, and just pause. Take a look over the tops of the knees. Keep the tummy in as you inhale and lower back down. And again, as we exhale, curl up. And as you inhale, take it down slowly. So some ways to play around with this. As you exhale, you can reach your arms forward at the top. So if your upper back is feeling kind of tight, this can help get you off your shoulder blades. Hands to the head, slowly lower back. And again, exhale, curl, reach. Right? Hands to the head without lowering. Once your head's supported, then take it down. So it can also add more challenge on your abs to the way down. Couple more. Notice if you're rolling up on one side of your body more than the other, and just see, is there a way you can even that out? Good. Is one leg turned out or one leg turned in? Can you even them out? Good. Last one like this. Exhale, curl. Add the reach if you're going there. And this time as the hands come back to the head, let's stay lifted. And on an exhale, tap the right heel towards the ground. Inhale up, nice. Exhale, switch. Inhale up. Exhale to switch. Keep the elbows reaching towards the sky so your shoulder blades are widening and lifting a little bit off the ground. Try to keep the head relaxed. Last one to the left. And then hug both legs into your body, lower the head. Good. And then settle the feet to the floor one at a time. So feet are going to be about inner hip distance. So it's around 2 fist distance apart. And we're going to take our prop, so ball at the studio, could be anything at home, underneath our right foot. And again, we don't have to use a prop for this. So you want your hips to stay even, right? Even though the knees will not. So I'm going to push down into my left leg, the foot on the floor. I'm going to press into my arms a little bit. And I'm just going to hover my hips off the ground a couple inches. And the idea is we want to try to maintain neutral. So I'm not overly tucked. I'm not overly arced. Front of my ribs are heavy. The abs are working. And then I'm just going to hinge my pelvis back to the floor. So a little bit of weight into that left leg. We lift, hips are even, right? Even though the knees won't be. And then we lower. And again. Right? And just make sure, right, if you're using a prop, especially the ball, that your foot doesn't start to push it away. Yeah, but I want you to think of almost that heel on the prop pulling towards you a little. Right? And there's going to be some weight on there, right? This is just biasing a lot of the work into our standing leg that's on the floor. Bless you. All right. Nice. So last one like this. Maintain that little bit of lift. So some ways if you want to play around with advancing this, right? Most of my weight right now is on my left leg. As I exhale, I'm going to gently push my right foot down into my prop. I'm going to release a little bit. The weight goes back into the standing leg. And then I gently push, right? Think of down and a little bit towards you. This is going to get into the hamstrings quite a bit, right? If you feel like they're about to cramp, just lighten the amount of pressure you're using. Bless you. Press. Good. Last two. Last one. Good. And then articulate down. It won't be very far, but upper, middle, lower back, pelvis to neutral. If that prop got away from you, bring it back in. Take an inhale. Exhale again. Hinge up a couple inches. Pause. Now, in your next breath out, we're going to gently reach the ball away. The leg won't straighten all the way, and you're just going to pull back in. So nothing else moves. So if I take my hands to my hips, I'm not dropping into my right hip. I'm not overly arcing the back. And hopefully you start to feel quite a bit of work in your left gluteals and your left hamstrings. Now, if you don't have a prop and you're at home, this can also be done if your heel's on the ground. You can walk it away from you and then walk it back in towards you. And I promise it is still going to work your left side, hamstrings and glutes, right? Good. Is anyone not feeling their hamstrings? All right. So last one, find a place where you're even and then roll down, upper, middle, lower back. Right? Take your prop over to the other foot if you're using one. Nice. All right, so center of the foot, good amount of weight in your right leg. Exhale, hinge the hips up. We maintain neutral. And then inhale, let the pelvis and the ribs touch down together. Exhale to lift. And it doesn't have to be very high today on this. Inhale to lower. Now, if you're not using a prop, instead of your left foot being on something, you could always have your left foot pointed. So your toes are barely touching the ground, and that's going to bias most of the work into that right leg. Good. So keep going. Yeah, feel that the ribs are pretty heavy at the top. So that ab work that we started with, that's going to help you out here. Yeah. Last two like this. And then the next time you lift, if you want to add on, hold at the top. And as you exhale, just push down lightly into that left foot. Release a little and push. And again, as you push down, I want you to think of that prop and that heel pulling towards you a little to avoid reaching it forward and to get more work out of your hamstrings. Every time you push, feel your core engage. So low abs, front of the ribs. Last two. Notice if your foot's rolling out as you push. Try to keep it even. And then on your next breath, roll down. Again, won't be rolled far today, but just bring it down. If that prop got away from you, reel it back in. And then exhale, set your stomach, set your glutes, and then hinge the hips. If you're adding on as you exhale, that left leg will reach away from you, maybe halfway, 3/4 of the way, and then pull back in. And if you touch your hips, right, the hips aren't moving. They're not dropping, they're not rotating. A lot of that work is in the right leg. So this is a take off the classic shoulder bridge. Again, no prop, no problem. Just tap that heel out and tap it back in. Last 4, keep your breath strong. Last 3, 2. Ooh, hammies. Last one. Find your center, take a breath, and then articulate down, upper middle, lower back, and take that prop off to the side. Legs will hug in towards your body, grab the back of your thighs, and send the legs to the sky. So the back of the hamstrings will start to get a stretch. Now your head can stay on the ground, or right away, head and chest can lift. We're gonna grab the back of the right thigh below the knee. The left heel comes to the ground. So there's a ton of different versions on this. So the version today, the left heel is to the ground, the lower back is imprinted. Use the arms to give you a little hamstring stretch. Set the stomach, switch. Left leg comes up, then the right leg starts to lower. Find that moment of pause. Push the right heel down, and then exhale, switch. And exhale, switch. Now, ways to add a little more support. You could take a prop behind your head. It's going to give you a little bit of a lift, but it'll take away some neck tension. Yep. We're using the arms to help keep us off of our shoulder blades. Use your inhale breath to open up the middle back. Use the exhale to stabilize through your core. Maybe adding on, we grab towards the calf. Maybe advancing hands behind the head. Your neck gets support. Your abs have to do a little bit more work. One more with the left leg up, right leg down, and then lower the head and the chest. If you had a prop behind your head, you can take it away. Open the left arm out to the side and pull your left leg across the body. And just hold and breathe into this. And really kind of take a moment to let your shoulder relax back. Breathe into all that space in between the rib cage and the pelvis. And then as you exhale, use your core, bring yourself back to center, left leg to the ground, right leg into your body. On an inhale, pull it across, open that right arm. So nice outer hip stretch and back stretch, chest stretch. Once a day, it's so good. It's so healthy for your spine to get some kind of rotation. On your next breath, use your tummy, come back to center. Grab both legs, right? We're grabbing the back of the thighs, nod the chin, lift the head and the chest up just to the tips of the shoulder blades. Now the tailbone's heavy, lower back's imprinted. On a breath out, reach your arms to the sky, nothing else moves. Inhale, grab the back of the thighs. On your next breath out, arms to the sky, legs to the sky. Inhale, bend, grab the back of the thighs, right? To make sure you're still lifted. So other things you can do, right, for more support, fall behind your head or head to the floor, right? More advanced, reach your limbs a little further away from the midline of your body, coming into more of like a classic double leg stretch, right? And the legs don't necessarily have to go real low, right? Again, if it feels better to have the head down and reach the limbs more up, right? Your core is still definitely working. So really just going wherever you feel you can stabilize, stay within the core, and keep the neck and the back pretty relaxed. Last one. And then lower everything down to the ground. Grab the back of the thighs, push thighs into hands, nod the chin, roll yourself up. Come up to the top edge of the mat. If you have a prop, place it in between your knees. And the feet are going to separate about prop distance apart. And we're going to grab onto the front of our shins, and we're just going to sit tall, right? Not so tall that you feel really rigid, but just, tall. Curl the tailbone, roll back off of your pelvis. Yeah, my back tends to be on the flatter side. So just find as much movement as you can for your body. Relax the shoulders a bit. Give your prop a little squeeze. And as you exhale, take your right hand to your chest. Yep, inhale back to your shin, and then exhale left hand to your chest. Inhale back. Advancing, we're not holding onto our shins, the arms are forward. Same thing, one hand comes to the chest, it comes forward, and I'll demo this from the front as well. Yeah, so you want to feel, right, as weight gets closer to the top of your body, your abs should have to respond, right? They should have to work a little harder. So now other ways to make this more challenging, you can take right hand to the back of your head, forward, and then left hand to the back of the head, right? Keep giving that prop a little squeeze. Keep scooping through the tailbone, right? If this starts to go into the back, take a break, come back and do it. One more each side. So we should really feel quite a bit of work down the center line of the tummy and the base of the ribs. Last one to your left. And then grab your shins, rise up, fold forward. Nice job. Everyone feel that one? Okay, sweet. So we're gonna add on to it. Take an inhale. I'm gonna turn again. As you exhale, roll back. So just back off your sit bones. Right, little squeeze into your prop. Shoulders nice and easy. Right, and you might start one arm at a time forward. Right, so you know the ways to peel back from this. As you exhale, left hand to the back of the head, stay there. Push your head very gently into your hand. Feel your abs have to turn on a little bit more. And on your next breath out, you're gonna reach the right arm forward and add a little twist to your left. Inhale to center, left arm comes forward. Right hand to the back of the head, right? Feel that pressure of the head lengthening into your hand, and then add that small twist to your right. So it's gonna feel like your left arm is going forward. Inhale to center, right arm forward, right? So I know we're feeling it. You can't see me shaking, but I am, I promise. But you really want to feel like you're moving from your torso, not from your lower back, right? It should feel like just kind of like a little pow pow right to your abs. One more each side. Center. And one more to the other side. So we're ending twisting to the right. Back to center, roll yourself down, right? You can grab the back of your thighs to help. Take your arms overhead, lengthen your legs out a little bit. Good. And then inhale the arms, the head and the chest lift. Use your exhale to roll you up. Super mean after all that, right? Stretch forward, nice job. Restack, sit tall. Curl the tail, roll back. So on that one, if you noticed your feet lifted, you can always go halfway down and then roll back up, right? Yeah, or continue to go all the way down and just at your own time and your own pace, right? You're articulating through your spine, eccentrically working our hips. On the way up, really use your breath. The second and third time should get a little bit easier. Yep. Now, other ways to help with this, you could put a band around your feet. You could put a little towel underneath your lower back, right? Maybe get rid of the prop if it's between your knees. Generally, it helps, but again, all of our bodies are pretty different. Yeah, good. Hands behind the thighs, A-okay. Last one. Yeah, and this one's all about that sequential, really smooth, easy movement. Yep. Good. Rest at the top whenever you get there. Take your prop off to the side. Nice. Take the feet together, butterfly the knees open. So just kind of find a place where both sit bones feel pretty even, and then maybe the heels pull in towards you. But if you notice your feet get so close that you start to rock off one hip, just ease back off of it. Yeah, and just start to fold forward. Maybe give your feet a little massage. Yeah, let the inner thighs start to get a stretch and the inner hips. And then kind of picture the tailbone reaching back in space and then start to lift the heart So you're still leaning forward, but your back just kind of flattens out. So there's a sense of lifting the heart and the chest up and the tailbone down and back. Yep. And just continue to restack. Take the arms behind you. Good. The right leg will be straight, the left leg will be bent. And I'm gonna go hands pointed out today. Classically, you could have your hands pointing towards your feet. Right? So I'm leaning back a bit. My left foot, I wanna get at least a 90-degree angle at that knee. So you don't want it too far away from you or you're not gonna have that much power into your glutes. Your right foot, the one on the ground, the long one, that foot's flexed. Shoulders roll back, and then I'm just gonna lift my hips a little bit off the ground to start, right? Feel weight in your left leg, feel weight in your right heel, and then lower back down. And the most important thing on this at first is that your shoulders aren't forward, but you're rolling the chest open and then lifting just a little. So do you feel the back of your shoulders, the back of your arms, and the back of the shoulder blades, right? Now maybe you start to lift a little higher, so coming into more of like a bridge. Again, weight through both legs, and bring it down. And you might have to play around, right? Maybe the hands go a little wider. Yep. So this is a play off of back support. So another classic exercise, and we're just kind of playing around with the sequencing. So if you want to add on, next time you lift, pause. Feel the back of the glutes are on. Right? Walk or peel your right leg towards you. Maybe that right leg floats tabletop and we just hold here, right? And you know, in a perfect world, my hips would be the same height as my knee, right? The world's not perfect, so my hips aren't there today, that's fine. I feel the back of my glutes, I feel the back of my arms, my right leg lowers, and then again, put weight in your left leg. It's similar to what we did on the ball. The right leg can lift, so it's kind of like a reverse plank, and then we lower one more time. Exhale, lift. Lower, take everything to the ground, both legs forward, point the toes, and just take a stretch. Yeah, just let your head and shoulders really relax. Nice. Restack, sit tall, and then the right leg will bend, hands come back behind us, left leg is long and the foot's flexed. So again, I'm leaning back a little to start. My shoulder blades start to draw in and down. I push into both feet, and I'm just gonna lift up a little bit to start. So the sides might feel different than one another, and then I'm just gonna lower back down. So again, set the shoulders. Yeah, just make sure you're on your opposite. Yeah, nice. And lower, good. Set the shoulders, lift. And lower, and then if you wanna take it a little further, right, set your shoulders, press into both feet, lift. Yeah, and if you can bring your hips up the same height of your knee and your right shoulder, awesome. Mine aren't going there today. You can start to walk that left leg towards you. Eventually it floats tabletop. We inhale, tap it down, and exhale to lift. Inhale to tap, exhale up. Last one, inhale, tap, exhale up. Tap down, lower the hips down, send the legs forward, and stretch forward. Nice. Let your head be heavy, let your arms and your shoulders be heavy. So that's a play off one. If you imagine you're in a reverse plank with both legs straight and you can lift the legs and switch, and it's super fun, super advanced, super classic Pilates. Restack yourself, coming up tall. Have your prop close by if you have one. And we're gonna come on to our side. So any side you want, just make sure you can see me. Okie doke. So the back of the body should be nice and prepped as well as the front of the body. So your bottom arm can be long with the palm up, knees bent forward, heels in line with the sit bones. You could also have your head resting on a pillow or your arm. Top hand to the hip, lengthen this hip away from you, and then allow it to hike up towards your rib line. Just do that one time, lengthen away. Let it hike a little bit, and then find the place in the middle. So there's length in this top waist, the ribs are in. Lift the top knee up and open. Flex your top foot and push the heel down and feel right the back of your glutes turn on, this top glute. Inhale to take that knee down. And then exhale, keep the belly a little bit set as you lift. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift. If you don't feel this one, let me know. Yeah, and then for Adrena, keep those feet together. Yeah, there you go. And then think of your top hip going a little forward. Or not the bottom one, just that top one. Yeah, there you go. Yep, just like that. Yeah, and that should turn on the glutes a little bit more. Awesome. Yeah, last two like this. Last one. And then lower. Both legs are going to straighten and they're going to move forward. So your feet are at the front edge of your mat. Both feet are going to lightly flex and your bottom leg and foot are going to push down into the ground. Now the top leg is going to be pointed, turned out, and we're going to lift up just about hip height to start. So your top arm can be in front of you for more support. It can always come to your hip if you want to challenge your balance. But we're going to point and lift. I want you to see how far can you go before this top hip really wants to start to hike up. Flex the foot and then pull down. So it's a point, heel arch, ball toe, lift, keeping the turnout, flex, and then pull down. So there's going to be a little bit of inner thigh work. Right? And again, maybe hand is in front. Maybe hand is on the hip. Yep, and just imagine that as you lift, right, that leg could turn out a little bit more. Yeah, and you might rock back slightly, but for the most part, try to keep the hips pretty square. Last two, inhaling up, exhaling down, or if the reverse breath feels better, do the reverse. That's okay. Yep. Next time you pull down, pause. We're going to lift up just about hip height. Flex your foot, and we're going to be in a little bit more of a turnout still. And I want you to think of your inner ankle sweeping slightly forward. And this is where if you want more range of motion, you can always bring a hand to the ground. Point your foot, and then think of your outer ankle reaching back. So it's a flex, pull forward, try to maintain the same height, and then a point and reach back. Again, challenging your balance, hand to the hip. Keep rooting the bottom leg into the ground. And as you go back, really allow the front of your hip to open. As you come forward, allow the back of the hip and hamstrings to open. Right? And I know we're feeling our glutes, right? This is going to get a lot of the side glutes, a lot of the back glute. Last one behind you. Yep, let that leg, keep it behind you. Let it touch down to the ground. Bend both of your legs. Press yourself up to seated, right? And the best way to describe this is the side you were laying on, that's the knee that's bent, right? It's pointing towards that side. Both feet are flexed, right? Foot into thigh. The other hand, the hand that was on the top facing the sky, that's going to grab onto that outer shin. And then the arm we were laying on, that's the arm that lifts, right? So just get really, really, really tall. And then a gentle side stretch. So really thinking of the upper and the middle spine stretching. Shoulders are relaxed, right? So mermaid, merman, merperson. Yep. And now just take your chest, take your heart, lift it a little bit to the sky and look upward. And just see if the stretch changes. And then take that arm down to the ground, right? The other arm will follow. So now your hands are squared off to the top of your mat. And there's a little bit of rotation in the upper spine and the middle spine. And you can play around with rounding your back in this, kind of like a cat stretch, really pressing into the hand, widening the shoulder blades, relaxing the shoulders and dropping the chin. Or you can play around with lifting your heart and coming into a little bit more extension. So kind of like cat and cow, we're just in a twisted position. So rounding, you might feel more stretch down through the lower back and the side of your ribs. And opening, you might feel more stretch in through your obliques and your abdominals. And then wherever you are, whichever position, just hold for a breath or two. Yeah. Switch the position, and again, just hold for a breath or two. And then walk yourself all the way up to seated. and switch sides, right? And something Mike does, right? If you can switch, right, by just letting, now you won't be facing me, but it's kind of fun to see if your hips can rotate. All right, so other side, if you had a prop, use your prop. Again, just make sure you're facing me. We're all the way down, bottom arm long, feet in line with the sit bones, hips are stacked. So you can let this top hip reach down a little bit and then let it hike up a bit. Find the place in the middle. So there's some length, the tummy's in, top knee lifts. Flex the foot, push the heel down. Feel the back of the glutes, and then inhale, let that top knee lower. And as you exhale, allow it to lift. Good. So inhaling to lower. So playing around with a lot more of the classic Pilates work today. Inhaling down, exhaling up. And if this style glute work feels better, this clam work, you can always stay with this. Good. Waistline's in. Yep. Yeah, nice, Cami. Good. Good. And if you tend to be someone where their posture is maybe a little more rounded, I want you to think of actually flattening through your back and finding more of your back extensors. If you tend to be someone that is a little bit more arched, I want you to think of softening the ribs in and really finding your tummy, right? So really just finding that neutral line, whatever that means for your body. Last two. This is just a nice way to wake up the glutes. Last one. So the next time you lower, the legs will straighten out and the feet are going to come to the front edge of your mat. Right? Flex both of the feet just a little bit to start. That bottom leg and foot push down. Top hand can come in front for more support. Right? Waistline still in. Top foot now will point, it'll lift, and we'll turn that leg out. Just make sure as the leg turns out, the whole pelvis doesn't rotate back with it. And then as you exhale, we can lengthen and lift up. Right? Flex the foot at the top, toe ball, arch heel, and then pull down. So it's a point with a turnout lift, and then a flex and lower. And we haven't done this in a pretty long time, but feels really nice. There's a sequence you can do on the Cadillac or the springboards behind me that feels really nice. Right? If you wanted more support, you could tie a TheraBand around you and hold on to it with your hand, around your foot rather, and hold on with your hand. Right? Less support, hand onto your hip. So working through the glutes, but also working the range of motion of the hip. And just notice does one side feel different than the other. Last one like this. And then we'll lift up just about hip height. Right? Flex your foot, keeping the turnout, that inner ankle, I want you to think of it sweeping forward. Make sure the hip didn't hike and the pelvis didn't tuck, and then point. The outside of your ankle is sweeping back. Make sure the back doesn't overly arc, but open through the front of your hip. So it's a flex, pull forward, and a point, and reach back. Yep. Again, hand on the hip or hand on the floor for more support. Checking that your bottom leg still has energy in it. Even your bottom arm has energy in it. It's going to help stabilize your body. Good. Couple more like this. Nice. Last one to the front. We're going to end to the back. So once that leg is behind you, set it down to the ground. Bend both knees, press yourself up to seated, right? Both feet are flexed. So that arm that you were lying on, that's the arm that's going to lift, and the other hand is grabbing onto your outer shin, right? And we're just getting tall here to start, right? So big inhale through the nose, and then exhale, small side bend, right? So really thinking of, yeah, there you go. Yep, you got it. Perfect. It's the hardest part of the whole thing. And then that top arm, that arm's going to go down to the ground. The other arm follows. Square your hands off to the top edge of your mat. So your upper body, your middle body's in a little bit of a twist. And if your glutes are really sore today, like mine are, you'll feel this all the way down into the hips as well as your back. Now you can round the spine like a cat. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a ton of motion, but you'll probably feel a pretty nice stretch. And then you can open the chest and think of the shoulder blades gliding down and the heart lifting. And then again, rounding. Yeah. Feel all of that space in between the base of the ribs and the lower back opening. Open, and then just pick one of the positions, right? Either the extension, right? The cow, or the flexion, the cat. And take a couple breaths into it. Really get big with your breath. That breath in can really help create some shift. Yeah, and then just switch the position, right? Either rounding or extending. And again, just breathe. Yeah. And then press yourself up to hands and knees. So come up to the top edge of your mat. And if you're on something really squishy and want more wrist support, just take your hands off of your mat. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips to start. So the arms are going to stay completely straight, and we're going to let our shoulder blades sink together. So the chest is dropping down a bit. Check that the shoulders didn't lift like this, but they're still dropping down a bit as well. And then push through your arms, especially the ring finger and the pinky finger, and let your rib cage lift. I want you to really feel some work underneath the tips of your shoulder blades. And then again, drop down, shoulder blades collapse inward. So the front of your chest is going to functionally open. And then as you push, feel the shoulder blades widening. Now hold that sense of width, step the legs back into plank without dropping. So stay really secure in your upper back and your shoulders. Tummy's in. Now, this can be low plank as well, right? So my knees can be on the ground, still working through my shoulders, my core. All right, whichever position you're in, right? Find some strength through your glutes, the front of the thighs. Can you be on your forearms? Definitely, right? If you want to come off your wrist, okay. But can you feel not only your core working, but those shoulder blade muscles? So there's still that sense of pressing the ribs up, pressing through the hands. Breathing for another 10. If you look at the feet, make sure they're not turned out or turned in. We're pretty even, especially through those first toes. On your next breath, you can take down dog or child's pose, right? Whatever feels better in the body. On these squishy mats here at the studio, you might have to walk your legs a little forward just so you don't feel like you're getting the mat stretching out on you. Soften the shoulders, soften the knees. And then slowly make your way back to plank and then back to hands and knees. We're going to come down onto the forearms, so the elbows are under the shoulders, the knees are under the hips, and you want to narrow the knees slightly. Now that same feeling you felt in your plank where there's that sense of lifting up through your stomach and through the base of the ribs, feel that here. Push down into the forearms and then send your left leg back and up and hold, right? Inner elbows are hugging in, forearms are pushing down. Now that back leg, it's going to bend and draw in, and then it's going to push out and lift up. Now, if you need to fold your mat at home, totally okay, right? Just make sure your knees feel supported, especially if you're on a harder surface with like a yoga mat or something a little less cushy. So this version is going to be really stable, right? Super parallel, right? Hips are really neutral. Spine is still pretty neutral here. Neck is fairly relaxed. Now, if you want to add on, next time you lift, hold. I'm going to turn my right arm parallel to the front of my mat. My left arm walks off of my mat. So I'm using my left arm as a kickstand. Now I'm turning my pelvis open. So I'm pushing down into my right leg. My pelvis opens. So now both of my glutes should be on. My lower back is still neutral. Now that top leg, turn it out. You're going to bend it towards your top elbow, and then you're going to reach out and up. Now your eyes are going to want to look forward. So once you have a peek at what's going on, then just let your eyes look down at your bottom arm to offload your neck. Right? Now, if this one, for whatever reason, doesn't feel comfortable in the back or your SI joints, come back to that first version that we were playing around with today. Now keep the shoulders rolling out of the ears. So you want to feel shoulder work, shoulder blade work, and of course, your glutes should be on. And we already kind of warmed up and primed your hips for this when we were in side series. Yep, everyone feeling this? Oh yeah. Now if you want more work, lighten the pressure of your kickstand hand or bring it to your top hip. Now you might have to go a little slower just to kind of figure out where you're at. And if your body, for whatever reason, is really sore today already, like mine is, I'm bringing my arm back down today for a kickstand, which is okay. Last two, whatever version you're playing with. Last one. We haven't done this one in a while. And then let everything rest. So you can come into a wide-legged child's pose, feet together, knees open. Your arms can reach in front of you. Fingers can spread. You can use the hands to help press the hips back to the heels. You can also take your arms behind you, allow the shoulders to roll forward, and really just offload the hands completely. So your choice. Take 2 deep breaths. And on that last breath, roll yourself up. And we'll start down on the forearms again. So elbows under shoulders, knees a little narrow and under the hips, right? Lightly brace your core like you were in a plank. Forearms down, inner elbows hug in. Right leg reaches out and up. And then lower it down and in. Yeah, and this is just gonna be right. Everything's pretty squared off, really stable for the SI joints, for the lower back. So again, just as we progress this series, just know you can always come back to this version. Yeah. Keep wrapping those shoulder blades down and out of your ears. Keep your core muscles drawing up and in. And then this is getting kind of really picky, but even notice the leg on the ground. Is that foot turned out or turned in? And can you evenly press through the top of the foot and the shin? So you are working through your feet as well as your glutes. And that's where Pilates is so cool. There's always some kind of detail you can focus on. Now, if you want to add on, lift the top leg, pause. Right? Your left arm, that forearm, is going to come parallel to the front edge of the mat. My other arm, my right arm, is walking forward, right? My top arm is now walked forward of my mat somewhere. Shoulders roll out of the ears, and I'm turning my pelvis open. I'm thinking of rooting into my bottom leg to help open my hips. My top leg turns out, it's gonna bend towards my top elbow, and then I reach up, out, and back. Now, once you get a couple in, start to look down towards your bottom forearm just so the neck is following the same angle as your upper back, and that's gonna help reduce tension in the neck and tension in the shoulders. And as this starts to get harder, your body's going to want to go quicker, but see if you can keep it nice and slow. Right? Shoulders easing out of the ears. Nice. Right? And lower back and spine pretty neutral. Right? The pelvis is turned open, but the spine itself, not overly rounded, not overly arched. If you want to play around with more challenge, maybe just soften the weight, right, in your kickstand arm, or maybe bring that hand to your hip. And then again, we bend in, we reach, and these are all options. And I'm going to bring mine back down today. Last two. Last one. And then let everything lower, come down into child's pose. Let everything open, knees, arms can reach forward. Maybe walk the arms over to the left, stretching out to that right side. Taking a breath or so into the right side of the ribs and the right lung. And then arms can walk over to the other side. And then come back to center, roll yourself up. So we're gonna do our back extension seated today. So this can be seated on a prop, like a ball or a block. It can be cross-legged. You can be up on your knees if that feels better on your hips, your ankles, and the knees themselves. Or you can do this standing. Just be mindful standing. You really have to watch that your lower back doesn't do the movement, and we're really trying to isolate to the upper back. So we're gonna start with the arms at a goalpost. So elbows about shoulder height and about 90 degrees. Now imagine there's a table under them, so you can't drop them down. And then you're just gonna rotate the knuckles back and hold. Now right away, typically the shoulders will wanna lift, right? And we just have to untrain that habit. So the shoulders, they're dropping down and the shoulder blade itself is widening underneath your rib cage and then lower. And again, same thing. So we're just rotating back and really, if you just think of less effort on this, we'll typically get the correct muscles to turn on, right? So, right, external rotators. Now let's make sure that the ribs, they're not overly popping, right, or overly arcing as you do this, that there is a sense of stability through your core. So your shoulders really have to move and do the work, right? If the ribs start to move too much, we're kind of cheating the shoulders out of their work. Yep. So last one like this. So we find your external rotation, right? Really just kind of ease into the shoulders and neck. And imagine your hands are on a wall and you're just gonna slowly reach up that wall. Now, as you reach up, let your shoulder blades move, right? Let them drop, let them widen, but try to keep the shoulders from creeping too high into the ears and then bend back down through center. And as you reach up, start to feel like your breastbone, right? Maybe it lifts slightly, but your eyes stay fairly forward. So you start to feel more work, hopefully, in your upper back and in between the shoulder blades. Now, you could also do this standing with your hands on a wall, and that is going to give you more support for your neck and your shoulders, especially if you've just had any kind of shoulder surgery in the last like 6 months. Your shoulders just might need a little more support. Now, the next time you're at pause, clasp the hands together behind the head, push your head lightly into your hands, and imagine you're tractioning up. So I'm lifting, right? I'm trying to lengthen the back of my neck, drop the chin a little, right? And then keep the eyes fairly, right, forward, and just let your heart lift slightly. So I want you to see if you can feel that in your upper spine opposed from your neck or your lower back, and then let the ribs drop a little. And sometimes taking one hand to the front of your breastbone can help. So eyes fairly forward, right? Breastbone lifts, neck stays long, and then it lowers. And just be mindful, I'm really mobile at the base of my ribs. So I have to think of my lower tummy still working a bit, my obliques helping to keep the ribs from overly popping. Yeah, just one more. And then let everything relax. Roll out your shoulders. Everyone feel that one? Sweet. So that is a way when you're at your computer and you're sitting, you can get a little bit of upper back work and you can just wake up all of those upper back muscles. Shake out the arms a bit and then come up to standing any way you'd like, right? So through forward fold or simply just stand. Yeah. All right, so you can shake out the legs a little bit, shake out the arms. And then take the feet a little bit wider than hip distance. So say about shoulder distance, fairly parallel, right? Stand tall, and then nod your chin and start to roll down. So legs wider. If you're having a day where your balance feels a little off or your legs feel really tight, just take the legs a little wider like this. Soften the knees a bit. Feel weight in all kind of four corners of your foot. And as you exhale, root into the feet, roll up slowly. Let your head come up last. And we'll do that one more time, either with your feet hip distance or all the way together. And all the way together rather is a pretty stark difference. So again, feet together or a little separated, nod the chin and just notice what happens with your balance and notice the sensation in your hamstrings or the back of your spine. Once you're there, soften the knees a bit. Feel weight through the first toes, first balls of the foot, last balls of the foot, inner, outer heel. And then as you exhale, keep the upper body pretty relaxed as you roll up One bone at a time. Let the head come up last. And we'll end you there today. Nice job. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. All right, you can type it in at home or let me know in the studio. That's all she wrote. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Did you guys feel any difference in the legs together one? Yeah, kind of crazy, right? Way harder to balance.